Welcome to the second of our Finance for Expats webinar series. Today we're going to be looking at Spain's Golden Visa. This allows investors in Spain to gain flexible rights to residence in Spain. There are various options, but the most common is invested property, which is what we'll be focusing on. I say good morning, but of course many of you are in different parts of the world, and so forgive me, good afternoon or good evening to those of you who are elsewhere. We are joined by Rebecca Lino, a leading Spanish lawyer with great experience of helping people to gain a golden visa. And we also have Alistair Barton of TBB Real Estate, who provide a comprehensive service supporting people who want to buy a property in Spain and apply for a golden visa. Rebecca will give you an overview of how the Spanish golden visa works in a moment. If you have any questions, just make sure that there's a button in the top corner of your screen where you can answer those questions. We'll answer them during the session if we can. If we're unable to answer them during the session, we'll follow up by email after the event. So if I can just now hand over to Rebecca, and she will take us through a presentation on the golden visa and how it works. Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I'll bring up that presentation.
Hi, morning to everybody. I will try to explain to you in a very easy way how the investor's visa, or the golden visa, like people like to name this kind of visa in Spain. I'm going to make a very easy overview about the process and the most important points about this investor's visa. If you're, please, Nigel, if you can change the to the next. Please, I need to, perfect. Well, investor visa is a special visa to be able to come to Spain in an easy way. There are 4 different ways to become an investor in Spain, rolling this law. As you can see, there is the first one is to buy properties in Spain with an investment of minimum 500,000 euros. Then there is a possibility to invest in Spanish public debt for 2 million euros, or in share of bank deposit investors, 1 million euros. And the last one is investors in business projects. This is the 4 kind of investments that are recognized in this law. Next, to be able to apply for this visa, the most important is that no European citizens can apply for this. European citizens are ruled in a special law, and they cannot apply for this visa. The most important in the real estate investors is to invest in Spain 500,000 euros, 500,000 euros. You can invest buying one property, or you can invest buying more than one property if the sum of the total amount is minimum for 500,000 euros. Also, with this visa, you need to prove that you have enough economic resources to be able to live in Spain without working. Okay, the amount of money that you need depends on the member of the families that are going to join the investors in this process. And also, it's very important to be able to have a public or private health insurance policy that gives you a complete cover without co-payments and without limits. This public or private health insurance needs to be with a company that is allowed to operate in Spain, and there is not valid tourist insurance. Okay, next page. This investment in real estate agent, as a real estate properties, as I told you, is a minimum 500,000 euros. Okay, in one or more properties. You can invest more than this amount. These properties have to be free of any liens of encumbrance or encumbrances. The properties that you could join to this process must be purchased after the 2030. Okay, if you have bought any property before this date, you will not be able to apply for this kind of visa. Okay, when you purchase a property, this investment must be in the investor's name. Okay, it's very important to see if there is a couple that wants to apply for this golden visa, that you must search your marriage economic regime, okay? Because in the Spanish law, if a couple purchase a property and they are under the separated assets regime, and you only have bought a property for €500,000, the law considers that this amount is 50% each. So the investment is 250,000 for each member of the couple. 250 for the husband, 250,000 for the wife. If you are under the community regime, that all the properties or the couple buy after being married, in this case, they think that the amount of money invested is 100% between both. So this is very important. If you are married in separated assets, the property only can be in one of the couple's name or invest €1 million in properties to be able to apply for this kind of visa. You must know also that to be able to apply for this visa, is not necessary to have or formalize the complete process to purchase the property. You can apply if you already have the property in your name, but also you can apply during the process if you can prove that the property has been purchased and you are in this moment waiting for the property to be registered in your name. Okay, in this situation, you will apply for a visa or a residence only for 6 months, and during that time, you need to formalize the purchase of the property to be able to obtain the definitive or the complete golden visa. Can you change to the next page, please? Well, regarding the sufficient economic resources, it's very important the number of the members of the family that are going to come to Spain. Is the main investor need to prove that he has what is the 400% EPREM. If you see, is a kind of index that we have in Spain. For the 2021, the amount required for each month is €2,260, or the total for 1 year is €27,120. This amount, you need to prove that you have already in a Spanish bank account or in a foreign bank account, or that you are going to be able to obtain this amount without working in Spain. For each family member that depend on the main investor, you will have to have the 100% of this special index being for the 2021 €565 per month, or €6,780 for a year. So when you apply for this golden visa, you need to prove that you have invested this minimum amount of money in a property, but also you will have to prove that you will be able to live in Spain without working. with this amount. Every year, this amount change. The index changes every year. The change is not very high. You can find that probably for 1 year to the other, it goes 1 or 2 years on 1 or 2 euros on top. Okay, and if the documents that you could join to the process to prove that you have this amount is with anyone. We have to see each personal situation, but normal, well, you can join your tax documents in your country, bank certification, label documents, okay? But the most important is that any foreign documents that you will join to the process must be legalized to be valid in Spain. And if they are not in Spanish, you will need to translate it by, through a sworn translator, okay? It's very important, this point. And if you are able to purchase a property in Spain and you have a bank account in Spain, the easy way to prove you have this amount of money is if you can transfer the minimum required into your Spanish bank account, because this makes things very easy. You will only need to join to the process a Spanish bank statement stating that you are the owner of this account and the minimum balance you have in it. If you don't have a Spanish bank account, then you will need foreign documents to be joined, and this will need to be legalized and translated, so they will have an extra cost for the process. Next page, please. The third important point is the health insurance. As I told you, you need to prove that you have a public or private health insurance to cover you if you live in Spain, not tourist health insurance. You need an insurance that covers you if you live in Spain. Around the world, health insurance, private health insurance are very expensive, but you could find in Spain very cheap health insurance coverage. The insurance company has to be authorized to operate in Spain. As I told you, it's not valid tourist insurance. Need complete coverage without limits or co-payments, and you need the health insurance for each member of the family that is going to come to live in Spain or to apply for this special or golden visa. Next page. The investor's visa allows the investor to come to live in Spain and apply also for this visa as for members of their family. You can see here that the wife or the husband can join the main investor, children under 18 years old or disabled child, descendant older than 18 years, but always you will need to prove that they depend on the investor because they don't have their own family or they are studying, okay? Ascendant, you could also join with you the ascendants if you can prove that they depend on the main investor. And also, in the Spanish law, recognize the registered couple. When there is a couple that they are not married, but they are registered as a couple in an official register, okay? The documents that the process require you need the official application forms. One is a visa form, another one is a residence form. You need to pay a tax. You need an original passport valid. Each embassy can ask you to have the passport with a different validity. Some you can find that some Spanish consulates want the passport with 4 months validity after you submit the visa process. Some other consulates want the passport to be valid 1 year. We will need to see each country or each Spanish embassy in each country the length of the passport they want. You will have to join passport size photographs, all the documents proving the investment. This is the house deed, the land register certification, and a special document named the land register office has to extend a certification stating that the value of the property, who is the owner of the property, and the property hasn't got any liabilities or encumbrances. Okay, you must join the insurance documents. This is a health insurance certification and the policy. You also will need to join the criminal record or police clearance from your original country and from all the countries that the person has lived the past 5 years before you submit the process. Also, a doctor certificate stating that the applicants do not have any disease under in the international rule of 2005. And then if you are going to apply for the visa for your couple or your kids, you will need to join marriage certificate, birth certificate. Also, this is the main requirements, but the Spanish law states that the embassies or consulates are able to require more documents, or even though they can require you to make a small interview. Okay, next page, where you can submit this golden visa. You can submit direct in the Spanish embassy or consulate in the country that you are living. You can in the country that of your nationality, or your country of origin. You can also apply in the consulate in the country where you are a legal resident. Imagine you are from Australia, but you are a legal resident in Germany. So you could apply in Australia, or you could apply in Germany. Or if you are able to be in Spain as a tourist, or with a different kind of legal resident in Spain, you could direct apply in the main office we have in Madrid, but you don't apply this as a visa. You directly apply for the residence, because you must know that when you apply in these embassies or consulates, you apply to be able to have a visa. The visa is a document that allows people to arrive Spain, and when they're here, to apply for the residence card. So if you are in Spain as a tourist, you will be able to apply for this golden residence and obtain directly what is a residence card. It's a plastic card. The visa, you will see that is always a sticker in your passport, and the resident is a plastic card. Next page, please. Well, additional information that I think is important to know is that if you apply in the Spanish embassies or consulates, you will apply for a visa. This is a sticker in a passport, and this process, the law states that you have to have an answer in 10 labor days. Sometimes, if the embassy or the consulate has a lot of work, well, they can need 5 or 10 more days, but normally in 10 labor days you will have a reply. If the Spanish embassy studies your case and they think you are entitled to get this visa, they will give you the visa valid for 1 year. With this visa, you need to come to Spain at least 1 day, only 1 day. This special visa is very good because it doesn't make people to have to come to live permanently in Spain. The rest of process to obtain a visa in Spain, to be able to live in Spain, the law states that these people need to live in Spain minimum 183 days every year. But this golden visa only needs people to come 1 day. If you decide to come to live in Spain with this golden visa, when you reach Spain with this visa and the passport, you are entitled to apply for the residence card direct. If you do this application, you will be able to obtain a residence card valid for 2 years. If you submit in Spain, you come as a tourist, you buy a property, and you have time enough before the visa, the tourist visa ends, you could apply for this residence direct in Madrid. And as I told you, you will not get a visa, you will get a residence card. You apply, you submit the application, you have to wait 20 labor days to have an answer. Here is the situation in this moment is that you need more than 20 days, normally it's 35 days to get an answer, and you get a letter. With this letter, you have to apply for an appointment in the police station to go and put your fingerprints and obtain the 2 years residence, okay? You have to know that there is difference if you apply out of Spain or in Spain, but always if you apply in Spain, you need to be legal or with any kind of visa, not needing to be a golden visa, or because you already have a legal residence in Spain. Next page, please. Well, as I've been explaining to you, if you would like to live in Spain during if you apply for this golden visa and you decide to come and live permanently in Spain, you can change the visa to a residence card. You need to know that the main investor is authorized to work in Spain. So even though you need to prove that you will be able to have enough economic resources to live without working, you must know that this law doesn't state that the investor cannot work. So the main investor will be able to work in Spain as a self-employer, or they can go open a company or work for any other company or person with a labor contract. But the family, no. The spouse or the husband or kids or ancestors that depend on the main investor, they will not be able to work. If they would like to work in Spain, they will have to change this golden visa or golden residence into a normal work and residence permit. To keep with the investor's visa or the investor's residence, you will need to maintain investment in Spain. This visa, if you don't change the 1-year visa into a legal residence, you must know that 60 days before you can start applying to extend the visa for 1 more year. Or if you are here in Spain, you can apply to extend this visa into a legal residence that you will have for 2 years, the first time you extend. And when you extend the second time, it will be for 5 years. If you want to use this golden visa to apply in the future to become a Spanish citizen, to get your Spanish passport, you must know that in this situation, you will need to respect the civil laws in Spain, and this makes people to have to be in Spain living permanently. This means that you cannot leave Spain more than 1 month each year. You need to maintain investment. If you sell the property or you if you have more than 1 property and you sell 1 of them and the property that you keep is less than €500,000 euros, then you don't have the right to keep or to maintain this residence. So you will not be able to renew in the future. Okay. To be able to renew this visa or the residence, you need to maintain the initial requirements, and you will always have to join to the file, to the submission, the same documents but actualized. So if you have been living permanently in Spain, you do not need to criminal records. But if you don't live permanently in Spain, you will need to join the criminal records actualized. That's all. I think with this general view, you can know the most important parts of this golden visa, and I will wait for the questions to clarify any doubt. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Rebecca. Just a few points, and we've got a couple of questions from the audience. So the people can apply for this visa themselves, but what are the sort of advantages of using professional support? Is it a complicated process or? Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry. It's not a complicated process, okay? And there is not very much documents to join, but it's, I think it's interesting to have a lawyer or legal advisor, because most of the information that you can find in the embassies or the consulates normally are not a complete information. And having a lawyer that helps you with this process will always help you to prepare all the documents that the Spanish law wants to. Because I found in my experience, I have met clients that had applied for a visa and on their own, and they have a refuse from the Spanish consulate because the documents were not correct. Because documents must have special legalization. Documents are valid only for very few days, 3 months maximum. So you need to prepare a very good file to be able to have a positive answer at the first time you apply.
I have a question here, which is, since Brexit, are there any fast tracking rules for British people, or are they in the same process as everybody else? And I think the answer to that is that there are no special arrangements for Brits. Is that correct? Well,
UK citizens, because of the Brexit, are not European citizens anymore, so they are entitled to apply for this kind of visa.
Right, but not with any special terms. Okay.
No.
So the next thing, we have the requirement to spend 500,000. Could you just clarify what costs are included in this? Does it include improvements, repairs to the property? What about the cost of the transactional costs of lawyers and so on?
No, this €500,000 that you need to invest is in the value of the property. You
Right.
cannot join any documents that prove that you have invest on any reparations or tax or lawyers. No, it's the cost of the property that the property deed states.
Okay. And in terms of that property, you have to invest in that property. Does that have to come from your own funds, or can you take out a mortgage in the abroad, or what are the rules in terms of where the funds come from for the purchase?
Well, if you buy the property, you cannot apply for a mortgage here. And if you buy the property deed cannot state, or the land register office cannot have any information about any mortgage or loan. So if you need to get a loan in your country, you will not, you cannot join to the file any document that could prove, the Spanish government see that you have got a loan. Imagine that you have in your country two bank accounts. If you need a loan or a mortgage to be able to buy a property, you arrange all this paperwork with one of your bank accounts, and this bank account or this document cannot be joined to the file. So you can use the other bank account to prove enough economic resources. Do you understand? The most important is that this property cannot have a mortgage on top.
Right. Okay. So,
but sorry, if you buy a property valued in 1 million euros, you could have a mortgage only for half of the price. The investment has to half a million euros free of any mortgage.
Right.
Okay.
So anything over the 500,000, you can take a mortgage out, and presumably it also means that if you're going to sort of borrow, you may need to use your UK property, say, or your property in your home country as a security rather than the property that you're buying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I think, let me just check the economic results. Okay, I think we've had that covered. Let me just check. Okay, so a follow-up question there. Can you clarify that people can work from the first day that they work in Spain from as soon as they get the visa? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
But only the main investor, not the family members.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And we'll now sort of move on to Alistair, who will deal with the property side. So many thanks, Rebecca. Good
morning.
Morning. Now we will just call up the. Just 1 second while I try to get the thing to move on. Right. Okay, so now we have Alistair Barton, founder of TBB Real Estate. And Alistair, if you'd like to tell us a bit about yourself, TBB Real Estate, and what services you're offering to people who are looking to get a golden visa.
Sure. Well, we're based in the North Costa Blanca. We've been living in and around Spain since mid-90s, and then again permanently towards the late 2000s. We deal with all aspects of people when they're looking to obtain a visa. Obviously the property side, which is very important, selecting the right property that matches what that requirement is, whether that's for a permanent move or moreover for some investments. But we also follow up that with a bespoke service. So if people are coming to live here permanently, we can help with the assistance of opening bank accounts and the correct type of insurance policies and so on and so forth, through to property management services, rental services, and so on. We're a small boutique agency, so we like to think we give clients a real one-on-one service. We can hold your hand from, right at the start of the process all the way through, and just sort of guide and advise as best we can. I mean, it's a bit of a minefield in terms of the real estate market here. There's a lot of agents. It probably works slightly differently here than it does in other areas or other countries. We do collaborate a lot with other agents in various other parts of not only the Costa Blanca, but also other parts of Spain, which means that if we don't have what you're looking for here in this area, then we collaborate with specific individuals in other areas that do. So that's kind of who we are in a nutshell, myself and my wife.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Alistair. So the requirements to sort of invest 500,000, and I think we have a few examples of what that will buy. So would you like to talk people through?
Yeah, I mean, for example, we've just got some slides of the type of properties. This is a townhouse which is in the area of Altea, North Costa Blanca. The market is such at this moment in time, 500,000 euros buys you quite a lot of property still in this area, whether that be a nice quality apartment in the centre of the town, whether that's a villa or a nice quality townhouse. But for your 500,000 euros investment, you should be able to find something that suits your requirements. As I said, whether that be for permanent or whether that is more for rental investments. This is an example of apartments that we have for sale up here in the Costa Blanca. And I think the next slide gives you an example of the type of new construction villas. But again, it just depends on how much you want to spend, which depends on the type of property that you can buy. But as I said, falling within the requirements of €500,000 euros, then there is choice available to the buyers.
And yes, these are these are very much the modern styles, but also, you know, there are the more traditional villas and so on available, and they're not.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think in the last 10 years, certainly I suppose the taste of buyers have changed. Obviously, Spain for the last sort of 30, 40 years, the more traditional properties, but I think especially in these areas, and let's say down in the Costa del Sol as well, the quality of the properties have changed. The modern construction techniques have all come in. Homes are now a lot more energy efficient than they probably were maybe sort of 30, 40 years ago. Buyers have got more discerning. I think technology has moved on, and the better constructors out there have moved on with those times. So, you know, I think the product available now, I mean, even in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, every new product that seems to come on seems to be introducing, you know, more and more new technologies. And I think that's a real benefit here. And that's, I think you can see that when you come, whether you know the area or not, the quality of the product is really improving. It's a very, very densely populated area all the way down the east coast of Spain. It's a huge residential area as well as just a holiday area. So a lot of people come here, do make it their home. You know, and they have expectations on the way they want to live. You know, that's not just the property, that's also the shops, the bars and the restaurants, and the infrastructure that's around all of the areas. I think, as I said, certainly in the last 10 years, it's really moved on. Yeah, and it's now just become a fantastic place to live with everything on your doorstep.
Yeah. So another question here. It says, I hear that it can be a bit hard to sell your property and it takes time, hence people are telling me to rent. What's your view on that?
I mean, if you take the real estate market in Spain post lockdown has been incredible. I mean, I think that we're coming to I suppose more of a problem than supply and demand. The demand is really outstripping the supply at this moment in time. The market is incredibly buoyant, and I genuinely mean incredibly buoyant. Developers that are building new construction apartments, new construction townhouses, new construction villas. I'm not just talking about €500,000, I'm talking 1 million, 2 million, 3 million euro investments. They're being sold. People want to come here and live here. If you've got a good property that's dressed properly in the right location, you'll sell it. You know, there's buyers out there now that really want to come and live. It's always been the way, especially in the North Costa Blanca and down in the Costa del Sol. As I said, because it is a place where people want to come and live permanently. You know, maybe a few years previous to this, I suppose the market always goes through peaks and troughs, but certainly at this moment in time, it's the right time to be buying. And as I said, you know, there's still some good opportunities out there, but it's a very buoyant market.
Yes, I think, you know, I mean, to sort of take a sort of layman's comment on that. My experience in Spain is that you know, it is the older properties that tend to be very poorly presented that can stay on the market for quite a long time. So it's a matter of, I would think, making sure that you buy the right property, and then you're going to be, you know, much better placed in terms of selling it. So it's not the demand for the properties, it's the fact that there are a lot of very old properties that people have rented out. They leave all the sort of rubbish around the place and so on, with overcrowded rooms and so on, and that is often what causes the problem. So as Alistair says, if you present it well, if it's a good property in the first place, that seems to work very well. I would also comment on the properties. There are the older properties. I mean, I've lived in 2 properties since we've been here in Spain, both of them older, sort of finca style properties. And they can be very cold and drafty in the winter. The first one was, and the second one's fine. And so those sort of factors need to be considered when you're deciding what to buy. But as Alistair says, these modern ones are built to a very high specification, and look to be, everybody that I know who has them has been very happy with them.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note as well that a lot of people are buying the older properties if they're in good locations with good plot sizes and are able to do work to them to construct a more modern style of property. That's been something that's been hugely popular for the last sort of, I suppose, 12 and 18 months. We sell a lot of properties that maybe do need work, but have great plot sizes or are in the right locations, and then people are buying these properties, and then they're doing quite a lot of work to them to bring in all of the latest technologies. So that's also something that's very popular. So as I said, if your property is dressed correctly, it's in the right location, and it's priced correctly, it will sell.
Okay, so many people coming in on a golden visa will be doing so on the basis that they want to sort of stay here, be able to access the country for a period, but maybe not become resident until later in their lives, either as they retire or, based upon their children's education and those sort of things. So where people are looking at it as an investment property in the short term, what are the sort of opportunities for renting it out? How's the market?
Yeah, I mean, the rental market here again is incredibly buoyant, because if you take the North Costa Blanca, you have large hotels, but I suppose in the summer, it's a villa rental market or an apartment rental market rather than a package holiday type destination. So if you have a decent villa in a nice location and you want to get some income generated through the summer months or even in the winter months, because let's not forget, a lot of people do like to come here over the winter months, maybe for sort of 2 or 3 months, just to escape the climates in their countries, and come here and have the nice weather, then that's also an opportunity. So you have the opportunity of holiday rentals, which provides you with some decent income, but also you can look at maybe what we call shorter term winter lets, which is up to sort of 3 or 4 months or anything up to 6 months. Or if it's purely investment, you do have the option of a long-term let, a buy-to-let, like you would in the country that you're in, maybe in the UK or further afield, where you have a full-time tenant. But if it's something that you want to use yourself, which a lot of people do, then they take the option of holiday rentals if they're not here permanently.
Okay, and if people choose to rent out their property, short term as a holiday vacation rental, what are the regulations around that in Spain?
Okay, so they've come into force in the last few years. You need to apply for a tourist license in order to rent out your property. Depending on where you are, every town hall, ayuntamiento, you need to register your property with them, and that stays with the property. So you may be able to buy a property that already has a touristic license on it, in which means you can just take over that existing license, or you need to apply for one. It's not a complicated process. You just need to make sure that the property meets certain basic requirements in order to grant that. Once you've got that license, then you're able to go and promote it onto the more mainstream portals and generate your income. And
what about if you just want to do sort of Airbnb? Does that make any difference, or is that also?
No. In order to rent it correctly, I recommend to everybody that they apply for a touristical license. And as I said, they're widely available depending on where you are in Spain. I know if you're in Barcelona, they're more difficult. I suppose if you're in the city centre of Valencia, potentially they're more difficult. But certainly throughout North Costa Blanca and my experience in Costa del Sol, most of the towns where are popular holiday destinations for villa or apartment rentals, they're still fairly easy to get. But again, we can offer that kind of experience and guide anybody that's looking to take advantage of that, of where to invest and where not to, which in order for you to obtain the visa, the permit easily and speedily. It's not a complicated process. It takes a couple of weeks to put in place, but we can assist with all of that. Or a property management company will help them as well.
Okay, and you mentioned longer term rentals. So, I know from personal experience, because we've been renting here, that it can be difficult to find long-term rentals. And there are greater regulations, or there are some regulations around that. Can you explain?
Yeah, there are. I mean, not to go into too much detail, I suppose, on this first one, but your long-term rental commitment is initially for 11 months, and then that rolls over at the end of that initial period up to a period of 5 years. Long-term rentals are popular. They're not as popular probably now as they were a couple of years ago. I think just with the influx of people, more and more people coming for holidays, they can see the benefit of, I suppose, a greater income generated through the summer months and potentially over the winter months. But if you're looking for a bit more tenant stability, then I suppose a long-term rental is an option. Generally speaking, long-term, probably from your personal experience as well, Nigel, they tend to come furnished. So normally when people come here to live, trying to find a long-term rental that's unfurnished can be a bit of a challenge. So, you know, there are a few things that they need to be mindful of, but, you know, you can get decent quality properties in the right area long-term if you want to come and see for yourself what it's all about before you make that commitment to buy. But obviously under the terms of the golden visa, then you do need to make that commitment to buy sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah, yes, I think the sort of key point of long-term rentals is that the rentals are much lower than those that you can obtain during holiday season. But on the other hand, you know, it is there for the full year. The other side of it, that, as you've already said, that really is key, is that you are committed to 5 years. So it actually, you know, once you've said that it's for long-term usage, then you're committed to allowing them to keep it for 5 years. And there are a very limited number of ways in which the landlord can repossess that property. So it's very much on the tenant side, but it is, if you want to rent it, if you want to hold investment for a long term, then it does give you probably a good solid sort of revenue stream. That is,
yeah, it does. I mean, we normally find that people that buy multiple properties would tend to buy an apartment in a decent location and maybe rent that out long term, perhaps in a town centre or you know, close to amenities. That means it's quite an easy thing to rent long term with a decent income. But as I said, the attractiveness of holiday rentals is the fact that the revenue does sharply increase over the course of the year, compared to what a long-term rental will be. But that just depends on whether you prefer a stable tenant and a slightly lower income, or generate more income from the holiday season.
Right. Okay, so I think that's sort of covered things. There's no more sort of questions have come in. So perhaps a final question for you, Alistair, is if people want to obtain a golden visa, what should they do next?
Okay, well, anybody that's interested, if they want to get in touch with us, primarily we can have an initial conversation about what the requirements are, in terms of locations, whether they know this part of Spain or whether they have other areas of Spain that potentially of interest. Once that's the case, we can gather all that information, working closely with Rebecca, as I do. Then we'll be able to start communicating with her. She can start to formulate all the documents. We can then obviously start to formulate a property portfolio of suitable properties that match the requirements of the individuals, and we can take it through from there. As I said, if it's not in the North Costa Blanca, if it's other areas, we collaborate with other real estate agents in I suppose the popular and key areas. So yeah, I mean, we can help everybody if it's just the initial start of the journey, or if they're a little bit more advanced. If somebody wants to come over and arrange a tour to come and see the properties, we can deal with all of those things as well for them, and you know, we can make sure that they're well looked after and have all the relevant information. And then, as I said, once they've decided to make that jump, and they have actually then applied for the visa and they are going through that process and we've found the property, we can introduce them to property lawyers that deal with all of the conveyancing side, that will run in tandem with Rebecca sorting out all of the immigration paperwork as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that's covered everything, and thank you very much, Rebecca, for your interesting presentation, and to you, Alistair, giving us a bit of insight into the property side. So, okay, thank you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So if anybody has any questions, you can either contact Alistair direct or send an email to expats@expatnetwork.com, and we will follow up and pass you on to the relevant people. Okay, thank you. Bye.